the sun. To dream, believe in strength. Now I'm the only one, only one. I was an ordinary boy until I broke the rules. My life destroyed, life destroyed. Until I walk awake, scream my mind, I shout, the ground shakes. How much can I take? My mind will break. Will it break? Can I take? Can I be your superhero? First time of today, to dream, believe, you are the strength, you're all I need. Oh, gonna give it a shot, only one of me, to shield you all from the enemy. You're a superhero. You're a superhero.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Grindstone Developments Truck Series, live tonight with the finale, the final race of the season at Michigan International Speedway. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You're watching Austin Green on PGR eSports. Final time in the trucks this season for these guys, and what better place to do it than a 2-mile D-shaped oval that's going to run a lot similar to what we see in kind of a hybrid combination between a Las Vegas and a Daytona. Get to more on that in just a moment. Before we do, let's get right down trackside and get into tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole for the final race of the season, the man who has found success here before, that's James Harris in the 55 truck. Puts down a 39 flat. To his outside, it'll be Kevin Martin in the 96, multiple-time winner this season. We're going to see if he can get win number 3 here tonight. Bryce Rayner, one of the two drivers fighting for the championship here tonight, will start third. It'll be Jamison Correa in the 81. To his outside in 4th. Dave Smith will roll from the 5th spot here tonight. Back in 6th, it'll be Nathan Meyer, the other driver fighting to try to hold on to that championship here tonight. George Young will start back in 7th. It'll be Tyler Meeks in 8th, with Brad Thacker in 9th, and William Mann Jr. rounding out your top 10. Back in row number 6 and 11th, it's going to be Caleb Forsyth with Brian High in 12th. Sheldon Pearson starts tonight from the 13th spot with Kevin Ward to his outside in 14th. And Charles Whitehead rounding out the field tonight, he will start in 15th. Looking at your race info, it is the Michigan 66, indicating the total amount of laps that will run here tonight at 66. The breakdown on that is somewhere right around 132 miles, as it is a 2-mile D-shaped oval. Track temp tonight, 103. Two green white checkers, 1 faster pair, and 4 sets of tires. As always here tonight, 74 degrees in the sim. Clear skies and winds at 6 miles an hour. A perfect scene in the sim to set us up for the final race of the season. Big changes coming next year. So last opportunity for these guys for one more win and one more championship. Here we go. Green flag in the air. We are racing at Michigan. Great restart right away. Can already see that everybody's thinking about fanning out. No 3 wide, though, at least not up front, as James Harris is going to try to pull the slider. The 96, though, looking for the crossover. Can Kevin Martin make it work? He does. Off of turn 2, they draw back to side by side. I think the outside's going to be the advantage lane to be in here tonight, but early on, you can make either one of them work, especially on fresh tires. Still 2x2. The 81 of Correa might be able to provide a little bit of drafting help to one of these two leaders to provide one of these lanes an advantage. The question is, who is he going to go with? You've got a Team Conti truck on the bottom, a Team Conti truck in 3rd, but they're not going to pair up. Instead, the 81's going to stay on the outside with the 51. The 55, James Harris. Still 2x2, though, up front. And as you go further towards the back, more of the same. No 3 wide, even though Michigan's plenty wide to make that work. Kevin Ward already fallen off the pack by about half, actually make that a little bit more than half a second. And then Charles Whitehead is currently the last man still in drafting range, sitting just behind the 316 of Sheldon Pearson. And while we keep looking at all these guys, you're going to hear me note this quite a bit tonight. We're going to start early on with your 2 championship drivers. And the reason I say that is because the way points were set up coming into the race tonight, there were only 2 drivers remaining that realistically have a chance at taking home this championship, the accumulated points championship. One of them, of course, is the 87 of Bryce Rayner, who currently sits at 414 points in the standings. He is 2nd. The man who is currently 1st in the point standings that he will be trying to beat is the 24 of Nathan Meyer, who right now actually sits just a few spots ahead of him, making a couple spots ahead in that 24 truck. And right now, Nathan Meyer at 415 points in the standing, so just 1 spot ahead in terms of point standing and 1 spot ahead via, on-track standing. And so what that means is they're only separated by 1 position coming into tonight. So if Rayner finishes 1 spot ahead of Nathan Meyer, it'll be a tiebreaker. If Bryce Rayner finishes 2 spots ahead of Nathan Meyer, he will take home the championship. And then, of course, that goes the other way around. If Nathan Meyer finishes 1 spot or more ahead of Bryce Rayner, then he automatically takes that championship. Both drivers, of course, with multiple wins on the season. And I'm sure one of them would like to go home tonight with the win and the championship. Back up front, James Harris, Kevin Martin still side by side. You can tell Martin really wants to grab this clean air from the 55 at Harris, but he's just not had any luck in doing so as of yet. By the way, good time to mention new iRacing update, and you see one of the updates right here on Kevin Martin. Notice the dash, and actually will take away the driver card. That dash is now digital. It used to be gauges. Same thing for James Harris, same thing for Jamison Correa. So even throughout the different manufacturers, you can see that they have all now switched to that digital dash. Not a big change, but definitely something these drivers might have to get a little bit used to as this race goes on. Here's a look at Dave Smith, currently sitting in the 4th spot. Him, the guy in front of him, Jamison Correa, and Nathan Meyer just behind him, are all up 3 positions at the moment from where they started this race sat. And there's your 2 championship contenders, Meyer and Rayner, tandeming together down the front. They'll stay tucked in line as they work through turn 1 and 2, and just behind, a little bit of side-by-side there between Meeks and William Mann Jr. I think William Mann's trying to grab that spot, but we're starting to get, by no means are we into the medium or late portions of a run, but I'm telling you, had the opportunity to run some officials here, and this is the way it goes. 5-6 laps, everybody's still in a draft together, but a handful of laps in, and that inside line all of a sudden starts to fall off, and it really feels like you've got to go to the outside to play defense. But then potentially when we get later in the run, you might see that change as these tires wear out and the trucks get a lot more difficult to handle. Up front though, Kevin Martin was able to make that move work under the 55, was able to slide clear. But Harris continues to fight back. Usually we'll see these guys line up and try to draft away, but they both really want the lead. They know that once the tires do wear out, clean air is king. Jamison Correa though still playing very, very cautious in that 3rd spot. Not getting too aggressive, just kind of tucked in line behind these guys, waiting to see if anybody's going to make a mistake. That has not happened yet. By the way, no driver cams here tonight, so unfortunately won't have the opportunity to look at any of those. That's Dave Smith in 4th, by the way, doing a great job. I believe this might be his first start of the season here tonight, and he is kind of the last man tagging on and actually catching up to that lead draft. He is now under a second from the back bumper of the leaders. And then this second group continues to battle just about as hard as the first one. You can tell that Rayner and Meyer are trying pretty hard here to just work together and try to catch that lead pack. William Mann Jr., Brad Thacker, on the other hand, have different plans. And Thacker with a brief blink out. No, that's Rayner. Man, that was a close call. You saw Brad Thacker get wicked loose there coming off of 4. Couldn't tell if it was off of some contact or something else. Either way, everybody gathers it up. Meeks will slide into line, and now that just leaves the 13 of Brian High, your Talladega race winner, alongside the 48 of George Young. Sheldon Pearson currently in that 12th spot. Give a tip of the hat to him for catching right back up to the lead draft. And Caleb Forsyth back here as well. Charles Whitehead. Kevin Ward now the only truck not connected to one of these major packs at the moment, so he's going to need a caution if he wants a chance to get that back. Up front, the 55 of Harris is now maybe going to try to start to work a little bit of a gap between himself and the 96, but again, still well within drafting range, so it's going to be hard to run away just yet. You can see exactly what Kevin Martin's doing, trying to get the nose of his Chevy Silverado just a little bit lower to get a little bit more clean air and a little bit more downforce on that 96 machine, but he did scrape the wall coming off of turn 2. That cost him a little bit of time, as now the 81 of Correa. Does he think about making a dive here? He will not. Stays in line. He's actually running a lane higher than the 96. Going with the momentum groove is now here comes the 84, Dave Smith. He has caught these leaders. It'll be interesting to see if he decides to do anything with them. By the way, Bryce Rayner in the 87, the biggest loser, if you will, in the top 10 right now. And ironic that I use that term, and I'll tell you why in just a moment, but he has fallen 3 spots from where he started this race at. And when it's only a 15-truck field, that's certainly significant, but we know he's the king of tire saving. And I think that might be exactly what he's doing here in the early going. Just working with Nathan Meyer, saving some tire, and don't be shocked if these two track down the leaders before we get to that first green flag stop. And by the way, they're about 2 seconds behind the back bumper of the 84, Dave Smith, who is, again, the last truck in that lead draft right now. James Harris, though, still best view in the house at the moment, and he's been keeping it that way here for quite some time. Him and Kevin Martin were fighting for the lead pretty hard there early, but now you can start to actually hear the tires sliding around for James Harris, and that's always the point where you start to get just a little bit concerned as a driver. Because obviously when those tires start to slide, grip's going to start to go away as well. But at least for right now, James Harris seems to be pretty comfortable out in clean air. And we mentioned that track temp. Part of that is that these guys are going to have a lot of throttle time because it's not scorching hot. At least not nearly as hot as what we've seen before. And there you see the speeds at the end of the front straightaway, almost 190 miles an hour, even in these NASCAR Craftsman trucks. So these guys are still moving around here at a pretty quick pace. That's why I said it's like a hybrid between a Talladega or a Daytona and a Las Vegas or even a Kansas. Remember, Michigan only has 18 degrees of banking in the corners, but they're these really wide, sweeping corners. And so that's why these drivers have so much throttle time. Battle now between your two championship contenders. Bryce Rayner on the outside, trying to find a way around the 84 of Nathan Meyer. You can see they drag race down the front stretch. Meyer has the ability to go all the way down to the grass. No out of bounds here, but instead he chooses to stay up, trying to grab any sort of side draft as caution. Trouble for Charles Whitehead off of turn 4. The 71 destroyed. Massive damage here. Smoke out of the back. And this thing is crab walking worse than I think I've seen a truck do all season. Man, he's tore up. Look at the left rear here. I mean, that thing is about 45 degrees facing inwards. Again, massive, massive damage here. I don't even know what he would have hit to get that sort of damage, but you would have almost thought that somebody else would have had to be involved in this. It's really going to be an interesting one to go back and look at. My only other guess would be if he somehow went down and slid into the barrels. Oh, man. You heard the motor officially go right there. He was trying to limp this thing back around to the pits. Because, again, you have that fast repair, but you're trying to save yourself some time. I don't think he's going to make it there now. You can hear him coasting, and he's going to bring it to a halt. And he'll have to, unfortunately, pay the tow bill on that one. All right, let's go back, take a look at it, and actually looks like, is it going to be what I thought it was? Yes, it is. He's going to hit the barrels of the pit wall. And the reason I kind of guessed that was because, again, it's such an interesting damage pattern. You would wonder how somebody would get that. Now, he had been running back here by himself, and I think the handling was starting to really go away for him. Watch here as he comes to the corner. It looks like he's just going to start to get loose right around the center of the corner. He does. See right there, it starts to slide out. He goes to catch it. It still wiggles around on him, and then off of 4, it finally snaps and gets it back the other way, but in the process of doing so, comes up on the barrels, and that is an unbelievably hard hit. Sends that truck right back onto the racing surface. Luckily, Kevin Ward was far enough behind and enough awareness there to miss him. Amazing shot that we get from the TV1 view of that. That is one of the things that you do not see often in real life or in the sim, but my goodness, watch it from the onboard view here for Whitehead, all the way from where he starts to get loose. And this is the way these trucks swing. I know these guys are on, open setups, but it still gets loose as the run goes on here. You see him starts to slide, trying to save it. There's the big slide. He's going to correct, but he just runs out of real estate. Hits those sand barrels that are there so that you obviously don't hit the wall, which would have done even more damage. Not that it mattered. It's still pretty bad here for Whitehead, but and right here he tries to get back rolling, but unfortunately the damage was done, and when you get damage like that, it's sometimes hard to limp back to the pits when the engine gets totaled. Give you a couple more views of this here. First up from TV2. I'm going to go back and look at that TV1, but this is at full speed here from our pit road cam. Look at this. Big, big hit. I'm telling you, very, very lucky that nobody else was coming down the front stretch when that happened. That could have been huge. Kevin Ward would have been there just a little bit sooner. As see if either one of our other pit lane cams get a good view of this. Oh, yeah, here we go. Sliding in, and bam. I mean, he must have hit that wall still going, probably, if I had to guess, at least 150. Watch it again here in slow motion. See the back end? Oh, my goodness. All 4 tires off the ground. So a big, big hit for Charles Whitehead. Puts us under a untimely caution, if you will, for the first time here tonight. And as we go back up front, it is James Harris still being scored as your race leader. The driver from Texarkana, Texas, having a great run so far here tonight as he looks to end the season with his 2nd win of the year. As Kevin Martin currently in 2nd, Jameson Correa 3rd, Bryce Rayner 4th, and Dave Smith currently rounding out your top 5. Well, let's get ready to go back green here tonight. Let's see how one of your 2 championship contenders Bryce Raynor's feeling here in the early going. Hey, Bryce, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, man, it's early in the going, but I know you've got your sights set on the championship here tonight. You and Meyer have been pretty much nose to tail all race. How have you felt so far tonight?
Honestly, I felt pretty neutral right now. It's not really tight. It's not too loose, so I was pretty happy with the car right there. Just wish it went a little longer before this caution, just because I felt like my tires would have been great. But clearly I was preserving just a little bit more than I should have, so we're gonna go push a little bit more here and try to go get the lead or something.
Sounds like a plan. Good run so far, Bryce. We appreciate you talking to us. Good luck the rest of the way.
All right, thank you, Austin.
All right, there you go. Bryce Rayner working with Team Conti teammate tonight, Kevin Martin, and this is one of the few non-super speedway classified tracks where teamwork can still work out in a couple different ways, but right here it's going to work out because they're nose to tail on the restart. So watch for the 96 and the 87 and maybe make a big charge on the backstretch if they can stay at bay with the 55 of Harris. Green flag back in the air, and Harris gets a pretty good jump as they fan out 3 wide out back. Somebody either missed a gear or George Young got a phenomenal restart. Either way, they're going to stay 3 abreast as they work down towards turn number 1. Meeks will get the worst end of the stick in this one. He's going to fade a few spots. Up front, though, Harris is able to single file him out pretty quickly. He takes the lead, filing into second as the 96 of Kevin Martin. Rayner also lost a spot right there to the 81 of Correa, but it's not much. And he actually might try to make another charge. You heard him there say he wanted to try to go up here and get the lead. We'll have to see how aggressive he decides to be in the process of doing that. Let's go back to an onboard view. We'll go to the cockpit view here. One of these drivers that's near the front, but not necessarily at the front. And that'll be Bryce Rayner in this case. There's the dashboard telemetry on the bottom right. And just notice some of the different things here about Michigan. He is basically wide open. You see that blue arc, if you will, and it's basically wide open. I mean, you don't see that flickering. That'll usually kind of back off if the drivers are letting out of the throttle, but right now they are not, especially on fresh tires as they hit almost 190. You hear the brief let out right as you get into the corner to kind of get the truck set for the rest of the corner. That's about the extent of it, and Rayner here is definitely going with the more aggressive approach now as you see him following the draft down to the bottom of the racetrack. And there's the speeds we're looking for tonight, well over 190 miles an hour down towards turn number 1. And so as Bryce Rayner continues to try to play catch-up to these two guys, it is Dave Smith in 4th. He's been in the top 5 all night so far. Correa has since slotted back to 5th, and Nathan Meyer currently in 6th. So if the race were to end right now, Bryce Rayner would win the championship because he is 3 positions ahead of the 24 of Nathan Meyer. And remember, he's only a point back from being tied with the leader of the championship. 1 to tie, 2 to take it. And you can remember that by just seeing where these two finish. If Nathan Meyer finishes ahead of Bryce Rayner, he automatically takes the championship. If Bryce Rayner finishes 2 spots or more ahead of Nathan Meyer, he takes the championship. If he finishes 1 spot, it's a tiebreaker. Keep all that in mind as we continue to go through the night. By the way, already almost a third of the way through this race is Martin really getting aggressive now on the back bumper of James Harris, actually pushing him a little bit through the entry of the corner. That's a really dicey thing to try to do here, but Dave Smith might try to take advantage of this. In fact, he's taken his number 84 Toyota Tundra, down to the bottom of the racetrack, and if he would have had some drafting help, I think he would have drew even right there with the leaders. Yeah, you can see the 84 Dave Smith really trying to keep it down the track. Actually wiggled up a little bit right there. It's so difficult to keep the truck down there after the first couple laps on fresh tires. And looking, by the way, because I keep saying fresh tires, obviously with that first caution, we had all these drivers decide to go in for fuel and tires because you've got plenty of sets for 66 laps. And now, talking about when they might have to pit again for fuel, I don't think they can quite make it all the way, but it's pretty close. So it'll be interesting to see when they would potentially make that pit stop. But obviously it would only be 1 here tonight, at least under green. The only other times you'd be pitting is under caution, maybe for a set of tires. Now the leaders starting to push each other around a little bit, looking for some elbow room. James Harris and Kevin Martin. And there's that teamwork I talked about. Who does Bryce Rayner go with? He goes with the 96 of Kevin Martin. That push down the back, not quite enough to get him clear, or is it? The 96, yes, he is going to slot up. Oh, man, the 55 of Harris, though, crosses him over, goes all the way down to the apron. Rayner will stay up. And that provides the drafting help still to this outside line. Jamison Correa going to try to pull into the toe as well now. All this side-by-side action here through the first 24 laps of this race. It's been phenomenal so far. And by the way, these guys will be coming back for another season, so if you're interested in joining in on the league, there's going to be some changes, so make sure you check it out. You can find a link to their Discord in the description of this video. And it is, again, the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Big shout out to Grindstone Developments for all that they've done this season, for not only this series, but for helping provide the broadcast, helping provide some weekly prizes once in a while for these guys. And I say this season, but Grindstone's been hanging with these guys for quite a few seasons now. And so on behalf of the league, I want to say thank you to them for, again, everything that they've done. As now we see James Harris right back to the point. The leaders continue to swap here. I think Rayner now has settled into a spot where he feels pretty comfortable, and I think now he'll try to cool those tires down a little bit, save some, as we see Brad Thacker and Nathan Meyer have now tagged onto this lead pack. William Mann Jr. trying to see if he can get up there next. Tyler Meeks and a few others following in tow. And you see how they all dive down to the bottom of the racetrack. Again, you're trying to follow that big draft of the trucks in front. The spoiler on these trucks is pretty big, and so that's what helps, again, provide that draft. When the air goes over the spoiler, there's a certain amount of distance before that air makes it back down to the ground, and that pocket of where there's really less air, if you will, less air resistance for the trucks, that is the draft. And now we see the 776 of Forsyth and a few others actually here are going to try to go to the inside of William Mann Jr., who I think slipped up a little bit there coming down the backstretch. Dave Smith also struggling for some momentum now. And Nathan Meyer slowly creeping up. Is able to get around. Thacker now's got his sight set on the 84 of Dave Smith. If you're Smith here, you can see him running the top. That tells me that he's already starting to lose some grip in these tires, and even on the top, you can see him still slipping a little bit. Again, the trucks here, they're really, really good grip-wise early in the run, but when we get late, these things are brutal here. The back end gets so loose, but at the same time, they're so tight on entry. It's just a really, really tough set of handling to deal with. So it'll be very interesting to see who came with the best long run set here tonight. Team Conti's been really, really good the last few weeks. But again, some of these guys up front, even the ones that aren't Team Conti, have won. Most notably, James Harris. Remember, he got a win earlier in the season at Texas Motor Speedway, and that was his home track. Looking to see if he can find another win here tonight. Nathan Meyer, again, 2 wins on the season. Bryce Rayner has 5 wins on the season. And then the wild card this season was Brian High getting the job done at Talladega. So again, he also has a win on the season. Approaching 30 laps complete here at Michigan. That would be the halfway or close to the halfway point. Lap 33 would be the halfway spot for us here tonight. And the 96, Kevin Martin, going to go right back to the inside. He's made it work a couple times. But I think now that we're getting to that point where tires are worn out, this is going to be a really, really tough pass for the 96. If he can get some momentum on the straightaway here one of these times, we'll have to see if he can maybe find a way to pull a slide job, but nothing doing just yet. 96 stays even. He can't get the truck to bite down to the yellow line, so he's got to stay side by side. Oh man, Harris going to have to do a big side draft because here comes the 87 of Rayner. Rayner, his teammate to the 96, I should say, going to try to get down there and provide some drafting support. The 96 stays even. Can he pull the slide job this time into turn 1? No, he can't. Harris continues to be strong on the outside. Where will the 81 of Correa go if Rayner decides to go low and push the 96? Jamison, no, actually going to stay behind Rayner. And so Rayner briefly checks up right there to let Kevin Martin back in line. Little Muffin in the chat says, well, guess I'll watch. I was going to race tonight, but since this is a new update, I cannot see any league sessions or upcoming sessions. Man, we hate to hear that. Little Muffin, I'm assuming, I'm assuming that's one of the drivers that we've seen before in a different username, but hate to hear that. We would love to see you on track, but we appreciate you still tuning in nonetheless. As a 55 of Harris, this time is going to get past potentially by the 96 of Kevin Martin. And Martin's going to get it. Harris, though, doing exactly what he's done every time, and that is to try to immediately fight back, but he'll stay tucked behind in the draft here down the backstretch. As they work into turn 3, Harris, he'll take a peek to the outside this time. Rayner going to follow his teammate down low. They're able to take a little bit of a different approach through the corner, but either way, they stay side by side. This is a worst case scenario for Harris. If he gets stuck behind that 87, it's going to be a tough pass regardless, because that's going to put Team Conti 1, 2, and 4. And it might put him 1, 2, 3, because here comes Correa. It's going to be a 2-for-1 pass right here on the 55 of James Harris. 84 Dave Smith still up here, and now Nathan Meyer has made his way towards the front. Bryce Rayner going to drop low. Harris will look back up top yet again. Diego Bourrier says, showing support from the Midnight Racing League. Diego, we appreciate it. Good to see you in here tonight. That you are having a good Tuesday evening as they stay side by side now further back. Nathan Meyer going to try to catch the 55 and help him get back up there. That's two of the Team Watson racing drivers. That's the help that 55 needed. Oh, man, Harris really shipped it in right there. That was a bold move on old tires, and he slips up. Oh, man, Correa's got to catch it. Almost gets into the outside wall coming off of turn 2. That allows the 55 to go by. 24 will as well, and the 84, Dave Smith, is going to try to also see if he can complete this pass. 4 trucks throw them all under a blanket, and they are fighting for that third position. Nathan Meyer, though, is going to pull clear, and he will now chase down the crucial 87 of Bryce Rayner, the man that he is fighting for that championship here tonight. And I got to think, if you're Bryce Rayner here, and I think this is what these two had in mind initially, he sees that the 24 got by and maybe saved a little bit of tire to come catch these two. So Rayner and his teammate Kevin Ward are just working together here, not trying to push the issue at the moment. But they are coming up on a lap truck here. This will be interesting to see if Charles Whitehead plays any sort of a pick here for these leaders, or if maybe interrupts the air a little bit up front. Right now, though, he's taking it nice and easy. Whitehead here, I would assume, is probably going to get out of the way of these guys, as he is 2 laps down. 96 of Kevin Martin now pushing the 87 of Rayner. Interesting swap there for those two. 24, though, of Nathan Meyer still tracking him down, and if you're wondering just how quickly he's tracking him down, there's the time delta between Kevin Martin and Nathan Meyer. You can see over the course of the last 5 laps, overall, besides last lap, it's been a pretty steady decrease in terms of the gap between second and third place, now down to just about 0.3 of a second. But the bigger question is, when Nathan Meyer gets there, what's he going to do? Because don't forget, we said that if Bryce Rayner finished 1 position ahead of Nathan Meyer, it would be a tiebreaker for the championship. But maybe the other advantage of teammates in this race tonight is, with Kevin Martin there, it might make it easier for Bryce Rayner to potentially finish 2 spots ahead of Nathan Meyer, which would get him that championship by 1 point. When they cross the line next time, it'll be 37 of 66 laps complete, so we are now well over the halfway point in this race. And man, for the 55 of James Harris, just all of a sudden, all the speed that truck had seems to have gone away here. Now sitting in 4th, drafting with the 81 of Correa and the 84 of Dave Smith. But just not nearly the speed that he had early in this run. And these guys were getting after it. Now, if you're the 55, you're either praying for a caution or praying to get to this pit stop, whichever one's going to come sooner. The 55 definitely needs some new Goodyears on that truck. Now, I will note that it's going to be a relatively, I don't want to say a short run, but probably a medium-length run for these guys if they do have to make a pit stop. Now, depending on how much fuel you have to take, I would certainly be curious to see if any of the leaders dare take 2 tires. The guys like maybe a James Harris, maybe a Nathan Meyer, to try to see if they can jump these guys. Again, that's only if they don't have to take much fuel. if they have to take a fair amount of fuel, 4 tires is the obvious call. But just some things to think about as Nathan Meyer continues to try to track these guys down as we hop on board with them now. Driver out of Carlsbad trying everything he can here, and he's drafting, but I just think those two working together is preventing Meyer from really closing the gap as Rayner blinked out briefly there down the backstretch, and still blinking out through 3 and 4. Always a bit of a scary sight as a driver behind when you see a guy starting to blink out, but as we turn our attention a little bit back towards the teens and the back of this field, really, Kevin Ward in 14th, the last man on the lead lap, 8 seconds behind your leader. There's William Mann Jr., Brian High, and George Young. And then you've got Tyler Meeks, the last man inside the top 10, Brad Thacker 9th, Caleb Forsyth 8th, but these two maybe getting ready to switch positions as Thacker going to take a look to the inside here. Can he get enough of a side draft off the 776? No. Instead, he'll actually duck out so that he can tuck back in. So Forsyth going to hold on to that 8th spot for the moment. That's up 3 from where he started this race at. Just a note there. And then Sheldon Pearson up 6 positions from where he started this race at. Currently in 7th. Dave Smith is in 6th. You've got, again, Jameson Correa 5th. James Harris 4th. And we'll stop it here for just a moment because these two battling for that 4th position. Correa gets a nose out as they work through the center of the corner, but you can see the 55 of Harris really fighting back on the outside. That is the defensive lane. And his tires wore out. I was curious to see if that would still be the preferred lane, and it seems like it is. For at least playing defense, because you can kind of pinch that guy down, and you're going to get the momentum on the straightaway. And you can see Correa there washes up into the wake and had to get out of it. That truck just a little bit too tight on entry for him to really make that move. On the 55 of Harris work. 41 of 66 laps now complete, and it is still all Team Conti up here at the front. The 87 of Bryce Rayner continues to lead the way with teammate the 96 of Kevin Martin just behind him in second. The 24 of Nathan Meyer still right between 3 and 4 tenths back from the 96 of Martin, but when those two just keep pushing each other, just makes it so hard for Meyer to get up there, especially when he's really got no help behind him. I think the best bet here for Nathan Meyer is probably to try to just stay in the draft of these guys and stay as close as you can until that green flag stop, assuming, again, that we are most likely going to see one. And I think that you go in either the same lap or a lap after these two. I definitely don't think you want to go in any sooner if you're the 24 of Nathan Meyer. But the tough thing for him is, again, he's going to have to try to get past the 96 of Martin just to send it to a tiebreaker for the championship. And, if they do a tiebreaker as the driver with the most wins, that still goes to Rayner. So I just think the way this race is starting to kind of turn around to, and the way it's starting to shape, is this is going to be Bryce Rayner's championship to lose. Unless the 24 of Meyer can catch a break here with a caution and get these guys racing up front. Or somehow Bryce Rayner makes a mistake. But speaking of pit stops, we're going to start to see our first few right here. George Young, Caleb Forsyth. Forsyth works his way out of the pits. Here comes George Young as well. And so those two drivers getting their first and only full service under green here tonight. Now Brian High and Kevin Ward going to make their way down to the pits as well. You can see for Brian High, he's got the Fox's Pizza Den paint scheme on his Ford F-150. Kevin Ward mentioned in the pits here. Dave Smith, by the way, already making his pit stop as well. William Mann Jr. falling a lap down. Looks like he may have had a connection issue. And for the 13 of Brian High, it'll be 4 tires and fuel. Kevin Ward will be the exact same. So he now makes his way back out onto the racetrack. And so far, those are the only 3 to 5 drivers who have made a pit stop so far. Nothing doing yet from your leaders. 23 laps to go. Still expecting to see some pit stops from a few of these front guys. Bryce Rayner, though, still leads the way. It's still him and his teammate Kevin Martin. Nathan Meyer back in 3rd. James Harris is in 4th. Jameson Correa still rounding out your top 5. Buster Malcolm says, good evening all. Good to see you, Buster. Hope that you are having a good Tuesday evening as well. As, by the way, while these guys stay single file, it gives us an opportunity here to show you what the official schedule is looking like next season for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Again, big changes for these guys. One of them, they're moving to fixed setups. And also, I believe they're either changing fuel mileage or amount of tires to go along with race length. Either way, the big change obviously going to be fixed setups and the schedule. And here's what it's looking like. These guys are going to kick things off in just a couple weeks' time on June 24th at Pocono. Now, a couple of the road courses might get interchanged, but for now they have Lime Rock. I do believe that race will be getting changed out. Daytona International Speedway on July 8th should be a good one there. These guys will also make a stop at Worldwide Technology Raceway. Kentucky, Richmond, the Milwaukee Mile going to be making a return. Darlington, and then look at where the championship's at next season. Atlanta Motor Speedway, that's going to be a good one. And I know a lot of these guys are looking forward to that. Again, if you're interested, we do have the link to the Discord for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series in the description of this video. All right, closing in here on just 20 laps to go, and it's still the 87. Bryce Rayner out in front, but here we go. Pit stops from the two Team Conti teammates. Kevin Martin trying to get in a little bit more aggressive than the 87, but nothing to gain. An interesting call here. Nathan Meyer is going to choose to stay out. I'm okay with that call if it's a lap later. I don't think he can go too long because, remember, he doesn't have the benefit of any trucks to draft with. So similar to what would happen at Daytona or Talladega, without a draft here, you're going to lose time pretty quickly. So it'll be interesting to watch here. 24 decides to go in this time. And obviously the call here for Bryce Rayner and Kevin Martin along with James Sinclair, who also pit. 4 tires and fuel. No shocker there. Wow, Nathan Meyer does not pit. Interesting call. I thought for sure he would have, but he decides to not. But we'll have to see now how long Nathan Meyer decides to stay out with just 19 laps to go. Man, I would have thought for sure you make that pit stop right there. Here comes Rayner, Martin, and Correa, all going to be within drafting range of each other as they work their way back onto the racetrack. George Young in that 9th spot, trying to catch these guys, but doesn't look like he's going to have any luck at it. And Nathan Meyer was able to put a few of them a lap down for now. Rayner, though, was able to get that lap back quickly. Martin, did Kevin Martin have an issue here? There you see Kevin Martin. Bryce Rayner way up there. I'm surprised those two have that much of a gap between themselves. We'll keep an eye on that for when the pit stops cycle out. James Harris, though, now going to make his stop in the 55 machine. And it's all about trying to get on clean and get off clean. You can't slide through the box. These are all the mistakes that if you make as a driver in a race like this where you pretty much know it's going to go green the rest of the way, it basically costs you your race, even if you're doing everything else right. So far, so good, though, for Harris. He got into the pits clean, got into his pit stall cleanly. And now he's going to see if he can get out pretty good. It'd be interesting to see where he blends in comparison to Bryce Rayner, who at the moment currently sits in that 5th spot. And Rayner is going to take that position here pretty quickly and by quite a big margin, too. As Harris gets up to speed in the middle 1 and 2, Rayner is already well onto the backstretch. But yet again, Nathan Meyer, I don't know if he's gambling for a caution or if he's just really tempted to run this thing as late as he can go. He'll get a little bit of drafting assistance here, maybe from the 55, but he just doesn't have any pull out front. So I'm not sure what the call is going to be there for the 24. Either way, we're going to take our one and only break tonight. We'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick around to find out who's going to be crowned a champion tonight at Michigan.
I played a couple of simulators and this was like very responsive, especially the hydraulics and stuff, the motion and stuff was really, really on point.
Make you feel like you're really driving, it feels real.
It adds so much to the experience. It's just really, really cool.
It was pretty awesome.
Green flag is in the air. We are racing.
3 by 3.
Almost no trouble. Around goes Alex Hill. On into the outside wall goes Hill. They're wrecking big time out back. We're not going to throw a caution. To the finish. Who gets it in the line? Cody Nagels wins it in Talladega.
Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway with the Michigan 66 for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Final race of the season and closing in on the end of it. And with 13 laps to go, the 24 of Nathan Meyer is going to make a pit stop. Man, this seems like a really, really late stop for Meyer. I was just getting ready to say, I'm not sure if somehow he's on a strategy that I haven't accounted for, whether that was he thinks he can save enough fuel or if he's going to take 2 tires here. But I just I'm not buying that it's going to really work here. Bryce Rayner currently in second. You see coming off of turn 4 now. And I mean, he's going to gap Nathan Meyer here by a pretty good margin. Again, I'm just really surprised to see the 24 go with that strategy. Again, he'll have much fresher tires. Let's see how it works. Again, if you're Nathan Meyer, you got to beat Bryce Rayner or let him only finish a spot in front of you to even have a chance. Obviously, again, that goes to a tiebreaker, but I mean, I'm looking, you see the track map in the top right, and that number 1 dot and that number 5 dot, which is highlighted in green, are almost a straightaway apart, and Meyer's still getting up to speed, so he'll lose even a little bit more time here before it evens out and then eventually starts to close. And so it looks like that official gap between these two is going to be 10 seconds as Meyer comes off of 4. So again, that's with 11 laps to go. Do the math. That's almost a second a lap that 24 Meyer is going to need to be making up here on average to catch up to Bryce Rayner. Now, he's got a couple of trucks that are going to help and hurt him here. It'll help when he gets the draft down the straightaway, but hurt as it's going to take away some of the clean air and the downforce in the corners. And this is certainly what he can't afford to do, is draw side by side with any of these guys. He'll quickly cut right up in front of Brad Thacker. Man, if we could catch a caution right now, Meyer would be in the catbird seat. But for Bryce Rayner here, who now is being scored as your race leader, he wants to grab the win. He wants to hold off James Harris and Kevin Martin, but more importantly, where he's scheduled to finish now, assuming things go green the rest of the way, he's going to be crowned a champion here tonight. Meyer, in this last lap and a half to 2 laps, has only gotten that gap trimmed down about a second. Pace is still not quite quick enough for Bryce Rayner up front. You look out the rear view mirror, the gearbox cam. He sees Harris, but he sees him way back there. Kevin Martin drafted behind Harris, trying to see if he can grab that second spot. Either way, it looks like all 3 of these guys have a pretty solid shot at a podium, as Jamison Correa, who pit with the 2 other Team Conti trucks, currently sitting in the 4th position. It's been a pretty good night overall for Correa. No net gain or loss from where he started this race at. Rayner picked up 2 after trying to take it easy on that first run. Then we got the caution. He decided to change it around and get a little bit more aggressive, if you will. Here's Nathan Meyer, has now moved up to 6th. And Meyer needs to get up to, at the absolute least, 2nd to even have a chance. Now, he did get it down to 8 seconds that time. So Meyer picked up the pace a little bit. Okay. Give him some credit there. He's going to have to get it down to about 7 seconds, though, over the course of this lap. And again, still some fast. As the further up you go, the faster the guys are that you got to try to pass. And we can compare some lap times here to show you what the difference is. For Nathan Meyer, look at the last couple of laps. 39.3, 39.4, even a 39.2 in there, compared to 40 flat, and a 42. So, again, it's just still not quite there, but it'd be interesting to watch. Diego says, who's going to get this dub? That's a good question. I think racing-wise, it's all Rayner. Strategy-wise, still wondering if Meyer somehow has something left in the tank to pull off a miracle, the biggest one of all season. But I just don't see it. With now 6.5 laps to go for Rayner. Remember, when we get to the white flag, this race will be official. And track temp has cooled off a bit, so that's not making any more of an advantage for the 24 of Meyer. As again, the hotter the track temp, the more tires matter. So with that track temp going down, grip going to come up a little bit, even for guys on more worn out tires. And Meyer has now passed the 84 Smith, so he now gets up to that 5th position. 3 more to go. So I keep talking about the gap between him and Rayner at about 6 seconds. The gap between him and 2nd place James Harris is about 5 seconds. And again, that's the spot he's going to have to get to at least send it to a tiebreaker, in which case I'm not sure how it gets decided. We'll check with race admin during the interviews and let you know. But up front, it's still all the 87 of Bryce Rayner continues to lead, as we'll go back and look at some of these guys that have maybe not had the best night one more time. The 51 of Charles Whitehead brought out our only caution early tonight after getting loose off of turn 4 and slamming into the barrels at the pit road entrance. Sheldon Pearson in 13th in the 316. Had some really good looks here tonight. And for, again, a driver making his first start this season, this guy's got a lot of stuff. And I think he's going to have the chance to show it this time next season. As Brian High in 12th, Kevin Ward in 11th. Good recovery for Ward. George Young 10th, Brad Thacker in 9th. Caleb Forsyth up 3 spots from where he started this race at, trying to fend off Thacker. I know he's going to maybe get a little bit tight. Boy, he's talking about running the top groove. He is way up the racetrack right now, trying to carry some momentum on those old tires. Tyler Meeks in 7th. Good to see him back the last couple of weeks. Dave Smith in 6th. And then there's Nathan Meyer in 5th, trying to track down Jamison Correa, who sits 4th. For Meyer, he is now 4.7 seconds behind your leader, and that puts him just 3 seconds behind 2nd place with just 4 laps to go. Meyer is hoping so desperately that these tires hold on more than long enough for him to make this work. You see he's able to get around the 81 of Correa there with ease as they rocket down the backstretch. That now moves him up officially to that 4th position. 2 more to go. Well, really 3, but he can see the 2 that he's got the absolute least pass in his windshield. But again, it's all a matter of, does he have enough time to do it? He's got the gap down now under 4 seconds. And that puts it under 2 seconds almost between himself and 2nd place. Bryce Rayner, the gap between him and James Harris is now down to a 2nd, so the advantage there maybe falling off ever so slightly, but again, not enough for Harris to go up and take that position. Now, I wonder here if Kevin Martin tries to save a little something to race that 24, even if it's only for a corner or 2, because that may be all he needs to try to assist his teammate up there, Bryce Rayner, grabbing that championship. And as they come off turn 4, Martin skims the wall. That allows Meyer to close, but boy, he's just running out of time really quickly here. I should say that gap now officially under 2 seconds between himself and 2nd place. But just 2 laps to go. Last chance for a caution. Nathan Meyer would love to see one. Rayner is saying, keep it clean, guys, please. And they will be coming to just 2 miles in the finale of the season for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Off at turn 4, starter with the white flag in hand. He won't have to worry about cautions because this race is official. 1 lap to go here at Michigan. Bryce Rayner trying to keep it clean. The 55 of Harris, the gap has kind of evened out right around to 2nd. Doesn't seem like he can close anymore. Meanwhile, Meyer moved up to 3rd, but he still needs a 2nd to get to James Harris, and with only 1 set of corners left, I don't know if he's going to have enough. Either way, up front, credit has got to be given where credit is due. 5 wins up to this point, and tonight he'll make it 6. And not only that, but he is going to come home a champion. The 87 of Bryce Rayner is going to win it at Michigan, and he will be your season champion for the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. What a race, what a season, and what a drive for the driver out of Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. domination again, and it pays off as Nathan Meyer officially 0.2 of a second is where he finishes behind your race leader, or excuse me, behind second place James Harris, which is what he needed at the least to send it to a tiebreaker. So this should go as official that the 87 Rainer, again, is your season champion. Harris takes second, and Meyer rounding out the podium. And Team Conti here is going to bring it down and burn it around as Martin and Correa spin it out back. Tell you what, Michigan did not disappoint. I know when we got into the thick of it with strategy there, the racing got broken up a little bit, but early on, and even in that second run, there was a lot of fantastic racing in a pack for quite some time. Rainer had to deal with it. He likes when things get into the long run and start to get spread out, and it took a little while, but Team Conti, back-to-back season championships. Last season it was Jan Zach getting the job done. This season it's his teammate Rainer. Just showing the dominance of not only those two drivers, but really of that setup shop and team. Job that they've been able to do. So as Rainer continues the celebrations and continues to burn it down, let's take a look at your finishing results here tonight. Your official race winner, the 87 of Bryce Rainer, margin of victory 2 seconds. As James Harris takes home second tonight, Nathan Meyer in third, and rounding out the podium. Back in fourth, it's Kevin Martin with Jamison Correa in fifth. Back in the sixth spot, it's going to be Dave Smith with Tyler Meeks in seventh. Brad Thacker finishes eighth, Caleb Forsyth ninth, and George Young rounding out your top 10. Brian Hyde finishes in 11th, Kevin Ward 12th. It'll be Sheldon Pearson taking home 13th with Charles Whitehead in 14th. And William Mann Jr. rounding out the field here tonight. He finishes in 15th. All right, well, before we go grab your top 3 for interviews, I did see this right as we grabbed the white flag. We may have had an incident. I was a little curious about what may have happened here, so we're going to go back and look at this. As I'm not sure if this was coming to the white flag indeed. Oh, man, Brian High and the 12 of Kevin Ward get together. And Brian High goes for a massive slide. Does Ward hold on? I think he does. Yeah, they both save it. Nice job there, but a really close call for those two drivers as we're coming down to the end of the race. All right, we're going to go grab your top 3 for interviews. Stick with us here at Michigan. All right, welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. We're going to start first here tonight with not only your race winner, but your season champion, Bryce Rainer. Bryce, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you, Austin.
Well, man, you come out here tonight. The 24 of Nathan Meyer makes the race. You guys go at it all night, and it comes down to the matter of one position, the advantage that you get to take home the championship. First of all, how are you feeling right now?
Feeling ecstatic, Austin. It's been quite a season, to be honest, and we fought for most of those wins, but also if you don't have great competitors around you, it won't feel rewarding. So I'm glad we had a great group of guys like this and some fast guys too to be able to go and battle at it.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Listen, you go back to last season, one of your teammates, Craig Janzak, gets the championship, gets dismissed from the league, and then you come in this season and say, I got you, going back and get back-to-back championships for Team Conti. How's that feel?
It feels pretty amazing. With all the work that they do for all the trucks and the cars, everybody who works on these cars, the builders, I have to give them so much credit just to make these cars do what they do and have speed that they have. And I'm just the driver, so I'm just able to try to take care of those tires and be as fast as I can with that setup under the hood. But it's great to see that Team Conti hasn't lost its spark in leagues at all or anything like that, especially with what went down last season. I was kind of a little bummed about it with the way it went down. but I'm so glad to rep Team Conti Sim Performance in this truck league, along with Nathan, Jameson, Randy was here for a little bit. So to have those guys as well, trying to help you and guide you throughout the races, it's very very awesome to have, and a great group of guys as well.
Absolutely. And man, you go back and look at the season in retrospect, 6 wins with the one here tonight. It's got to feel like a great overall season. Now, knowing that we're going to fixed setups next year, how do you take some momentum from this season and move it on to next?
Honestly, the same thing, really. I mean, regardless of what set you're racing with, there's always factors involved with it, which comes down to tires, to how you drive the corners. You can't really change the truck at all, but you can mess around with the brake bias, although that doesn't really do much for me personally. You can change that just a little bit and just be able to save tire again, and just try to be fast in the long run as well. And if we get short runs later next season, I'd probably be pretty good there. But all in all, I can't thank everybody enough, and for having an open setup league again. It was just pretty cool to finish out on top.
Absolutely. Well, Bryce, before we let you head out for the final time this season to go celebrate the win and the championship, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I don't know. There's a lot of people. I'm just very thankful to get this win, finish on the top step of the podium for the last race of the season, as well as grab the championship away from Nathan by one singular position. Is really crazy to me, and how he fought through, this race, especially to see him pit that late. I don't know what his call was or what his ideal thinking was. I just don't know if he probably would have had a chance to tie with me if maybe he had followed me into the pits, or 2 laps later. But I got to give it to Nathan all year, or all season long. He's been super, super fast. Maybe the setup doesn't show it quite well, but he's got speed in himself, and he can really whip it around the tracks. I just want to say again, I think I've seen what happened on that last corner. I just got to throw it out there. Nathan, you are a class act. I don't know if you had a chance to pass him there coming to the line, but if you did and you slowed up, honestly, very appreciated there. That's not, somewhere I would like to tie for a championship. But, you had to do what you had to do. But appreciate the class act there. Secondly, Austin, up in the booth, you do a phenomenal job each and every week. So thanks for that. Family, friends who have watched, I know Craig's watching, or maybe watching. I brought it home again for you, and you could appreciate that, because I worked my tail off for this. So it feels good to get back to back for Team Conti as well. Shout out to Grindstone Developments for the league itself and the sponsor. Shout out to Nathan, again, great competitor. Kevin, my teammate. Jameson, Randy, he couldn't make it for the last couple of races, but all in all, just a phenomenal season. And we finished off strong, and we're going to start strong next season if I'm able to make some of the races.
Sounds like a plan. Well, Bryce, thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on not only the race win, but the phenomenal season and the championship, and hopefully we'll see you around.
Yeah, very much appreciated, Austin. You have a wonderful night.
You as well. All right. By the way, before we move on to your second place finisher, you saw in that replay, that was what Rayner was referring to. Looked like Harris got up into the wall right about coming off of 4 and kind of got stuck in it for a moment. That allowed Meyer, with that big run he had, to almost get there, but just didn't quite have enough. And obviously we didn't get to go on the cockpit view to look there, but the run he had, it almost did appear that he may have lifted. Either way, certainly a close one right there at the line, which brings us now to your second place finisher here tonight, the man who got a win earlier at Texas and certainly had enough speed to almost get race win number 2 this season here tonight, and that's James Harris. James, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, man, you had great speed in the short run tonight. That's obviously been one of the storylines for you this season. And even there at the end, thought for a little while you might have had a chance. First off, what more do you think you needed there to get to the 87?
I needed about 2 more laps, to be honest with you. We pitted a couple laps later than him, so we'd have a little bit fresher tires. And we were catching him pretty good there, and then the tires started to equalize a little bit, so it kind of evened out between us. And I was kind of hoping I could get his draft before that happened, and unfortunately that wasn't the case. And we kind of did a Hail Melon going to 3 on the last lap just to see what we could do, and that didn't work out. But congrats to Bryce.
Yeah, we saw that big move there coming to the line where you almost lost that podium spot, or excuse me, the second place spot. But I mean, overall, you look back this season, you got to win. That's 2 seasons in a row where you've captured at least 1 win in open setups. Next season, we go back to fixed setups. Do you feel like that might put you in a little bit better contention for a championship next year?
It does, because before we went to open, I think the season before that, I won like 5 races. Something happened with our setup shop the last couple months. Our builder was trying something different, and unfortunately, it hurt our setups on the long run, and it hurt my performance in this league. It's bad timing too, because we just got figured out this week what he was doing wrong. Because our Iowa setups are pretty good this week. We've already got several wins, so that's fixed. But we're going to go to fixed next season. It's going to be a great equalizer. That way, some people won't have to rely on setup to get wins anymore. And I think it's going to be a very competitive season next season.
Absolutely. Well, hey, James, before we let you head out here tonight, you bring home another good finish to cap off a 3rd place points finish for the season as well. So is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yep, as always, I want to thank my beautiful wife, Courtney, for supporting me and watching all my races. Kevin Kirscher, Blackstone Management, Champion Power Equipment, we had them on board with us tonight. And Grindstone, I can't forget Grindstone. I got Grindstone for sponsoring this season. They're going to be back with us next season, I believe, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. And James, thank you for talking to us. Congrats again on the 2nd place finish, and hopefully we'll see you around.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, and now that is going to bring us to your final podium finisher here tonight, and that is the 24 of Nathan Meyer. Nathan, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, man, what's going on?
Not much. Well, you finished 3rd here tonight, and unfortunately 1 spot shy of sending it to a tiebreaker for the championship. First off, I got to ask, what was going through your mind on the strategy call?
Yeah, I knew if I pitted with them, it was still going to be 2 against 1 with Kevin up there with them, so they would have just beat me anyway. But then as they came around, they were separated by like almost a second or so. So I maybe should have done that. And then I thought, well, I might as well run long. And then James pitted a few laps before I did, and he was only a second behind. And I was a second ahead of James, so I probably would have been there with Bryce if I did that strategy. But shoulda, woulda, couldas on that, but just needed a few more laps at the end. Would have had it.
Yeah, indeed, and it's got to feel a little bit like a gut punch because you had so much speed to kick off the season, and then you throw in a little bit of bad luck in the process to, of course, where it comes down to just 1 point at the end. But overall, you got to still look at the positives. You do get those 2 wins. You lead the championship points the whole season except for tonight. Do you feel like there's some momentum that you can take into next year?
Oh yeah. It's nice running up front, even if he didn't win, and it's just it's just fun to do this every Tuesday with all my friends. So no bad feelings. Congrats to Bryce. He's hella fast. So yeah, it was just fun all year long.
Absolutely. Well, hey Nathan, before we let you head out, the final time this season, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, thanks you guys for putting this on. Team Watson Racing for the setups. I had some fast ones at the beginning of the year, and then thanks for Grindstone Developments for sponsoring us, and just looking forward to next year. Congrats to Bryce.
And Nathan, thank you for talking to us. Congrats on the podium finish here tonight. Congrats on a great season nonetheless.
Thanks, man.
All right, that is going to wrap up interviews tonight from Michigan International Speedway. Well, as it's been pretty much all season, what another great race that we witnessed, and what a great season it was. It came all the way down to the final race to decide your champion, and it was the 87 of Bryce Rayner, crowned the king of the Grindstone Developments Truck Series. Gets the win tonight and gets the championship to go along with it. Not sure yet if we'll be back with these guys next season, but regardless of broadcast, whoever they go with, if they go with one or not, let me tell you, this is a great league. If you are interested in racing, please do go check these guys out. Again, we have the link to their Discord in the description to this video. So again, that's how you can find them to get started. Again, on behalf of this league, I want to thank Grindstone Developments for all that they do for the league and for us and allowing us to broadcast for these guys. And thank you all so much for tuning in this season. As always, I hope that you enjoyed. And that's it for me, Austin Green, here on PGR eSports. Until next time, have a good night.